I didn't tell anyone. That's the part that still feels strange, how something so large could happen without a single announcement. But most real things in my life have happened quietly. I moved a few meetings, shifted where I spent my evenings, chose one city over another without giving the real reason. On paper, it looked like optimization, efficiency, logistics. It wasn't. It was you. I don't think you ever knew how many small decisions bent in your direction. I used to tell myself I was just simplifying, reducing friction, creating space. I'm good at explaining things in ways that sound rational. It's a skill you probably noticed. But late at night, when the house settled and the lights were low, I knew the truth. I wanted to run into you more often. Not in dramatic ways, not in grand, cinematic collisions, just proximity, the kind where you text, "Are you nearby?" And I could say, "Yes," without checking a map. And I could say, "Yes," without checking a map. I've built entire systems around efficiency, entire companies around reducing distance between idea and execution. But I never really understood how powerful physical closeness could be until you. The first time I realized it, we were sitting in silence. Not the awkward kind, the kind where neither person feels pressure to fill it. You were reading something on your phone. I was staring at nothing in particular. The room wasn't remarkable. Soft light, a glass of water on the table, the faint hum of something mechanical in the background. Ordinary. But I remember thinking, this is enough. No performance. No proving. No negotiating the world. Just presence. I didn't say that out loud. I rarely say the most important things out loud. I rarely say the most important things out loud. Instead, I rearranged my calendar the following week. There are people who think love is about intensity, big gestures, public declarations, sudden risks. I used to think that too. Now I think it's about geography. Where you wake up, where you land at night, which side of the city feels like home because someone you care about is there. You never asked me to change anything. That's the part that made it easy to choose. If you had demanded, I might have resisted. I have a reflex against pressure, a need for autonomy that sometimes borders on isolation. But you didn't push. You just existed in your own steady way. And I found myself adjusting. I told myself it was temporary at first. I'd stay a little longer, schedule fewer trips, take calls remotely instead of in person. It wasn't sacrifice. It felt like alignment. There's a difference. Sacrifice feels heavy. It keeps score. Alignment feels quiet. It doesn't need applause. I don't think I understood how loud my life had become until I started protecting quieter hours, hours that could overlap with yours. I began declining invitations without explanation, not available. That was all I wrote. In reality, I was choosing to cook something simple and wait for you to finish what you were doing so we could sit on opposite ends of the couch and talk about nothing important. It's strange what becomes sacred. The way you would leave a mug in the sink, the sound of your footsteps in the hallway, how you always opened a window even when it was slightly too cold. These are not the details people imagine when they think of love, but they're the ones that stayed. After you left, the silence returned. Not dramatic silence, just space. The mug went back into the cabinet. The window stayed closed. My schedule filled itself again with things that looked productive. I didn't undo the changes immediately. That surprised me. I kept the apartment closer to you for months. Kept the slower evenings, kept the margin in my calendar. Part of me thought you might come back, but a deeper part knew that wasn't the point. I wasn't rearranging my life to secure you. I had rearranged it because for the first time I understood what I wanted it to feel like. Calmer, less scattered, less divided between public noise and private emptiness. Private emptiness. You didn't fix me. That would be too simple. But you revealed something. How much of my motion had been avoidance. How often I used momentum as insulation. Being near you required stillness. It required me to sit with my own thoughts without distraction. You were good at that. You would notice when I drifted. Not accuse. Not interrogate. Just a quiet, "Where did you go?" And I'd come back. I didn't realize how rare that was. After you were gone, I noticed how easy it was to disappear again. Into work, into strategy, into the comfort of complexity. It's easier to solve technical problems than emotional ones. Technical problems yield. Emotions require patience. So I stayed in the quieter version of my life, even when there was no guarantee you'd ever share it again. Because it wasn't about earning you. Browsing was about becoming someone who could actually stay. I used to think love meant expansion, more plans, bigger futures, combined trajectories. Now I think it also means contraction, fewer rooms, fewer cities, fewer distractions, smaller, steadier center. There were nights I almost called you, not to argue, not to persuade, just to say I understood something new, like the way I used to leave mid-conversation because my phone buzzed, or how I respond with analysis when you were offering something softer. I see it now, not with shame. I was present in body more than in spirit sometimes, and presence is the only thing that counts. You once told me that love feels safest when it isn't constantly being evaluated. I didn't know how to stop evaluating back then. Every decision felt like a calculation. Risk versus reward, probability of outcome. You can't spreadsheet your way into intimacy. Trust doesn't respond to optimization. It responds to consistency. I'm more consistent now. Even alone, I wake up in the same place most days. I cook more. I let evenings stretch without filling them. I've learned to sit in a room without trying to improve it. There's a lamp in the corner that gives off a soft, uneven light. I used to mean to replace it. I haven't. It's imperfect, but it's warm. I think that's what I was chasing without knowing. Warmth, not perfection. I don't regret loving you. I don't regret the adjustments. If anything, I regret that I didn't understand sooner why I was making them. You probably thought I was distant in some ways. Maybe I was, but distance isn't always measured in miles. Sometimes it's measured in guarded thoughts. I'm less guarded now, not because someone forced me open, but because losing you showed me what closes when I stay protected. I don't know where you are tonight. I imagine you in a room with softer light than this one, maybe reading, maybe asleep. I don't picture you dramatically, just living. And I feel something close to gratitude, not the loud kind, the steady kind. You changed the architecture of my days without asking to. You showed me that rearranging a life doesn't require headlines. It can start with one decision. Stay closer. Even if the person you move toward eventually walks away, the direction still matters. I'm not waiting, but I'm not running either. I built a version of my life that has space for someone, space at the table, space in the calendar, space in me. Whether you ever step back into it isn't something I'm trying to control. I just know that I don't want to live scattered anymore. Tonight the room is quiet. The window is open a few inches. It's colder than it needs to be. I leave it that way. The air moves slowly across the floor, and for the first time in a long time, the stillness doesn't feel empty. It feels intentional.